Hi, my name is Maidera Zanza and I'm going to present our work onboarding in software product lines, concept maps as welcome guides. This work was carried out by Arantxa Irastorza, Raúl Medeiros, Oscar Diaz and myself at the Onecon Research Group at the University of the Basque Country in Spain. Let's start with software product lines or SPLs. SPLs follow the typical product line principles. First, the common predefined pieces, that is the common platform, are created. See the left part of the figure. Then, these reusable pieces, also known as the core assets, are used to build the different products the product line offers. Imagine the core assets as the puzzle pieces, and the products as the different pieces joined together to fulfill a specific customer's needs. This paradigm brings benefits to software development, such as reduced cost, reduced time to market, or increased quality. In software product line development, developers are typically divided into two teams. On one hand, on the left part of the figure, the domain engineering team is in charge of creating the reusable pieces, the core assets, which will be later available to all products of the product line. On the other hand, on the right part of the figure, the application engineering team uses these core assets to build the different products. These core assets can be reused as they are, but they can also be customized to meet some specific client's needs. In this scenario, we will concentrate on the onboarding problem. Onboarding is broadly defined as the process of incorporating a new developer, also known as the newcomer, into a software development team. This problem has been extensively studied in single system development, especially in open source development communities, but also in industry. To the best of our knowledge, it has not yet been analyzed in a product line setting. So, let's go back to our product line. Meet Jane. Jane is a developer at the application engineering team who is being incorporated into the domain engineering team. What challenges does Jane face? How does her onboarding process differ from onboarding in single system development? That is the focus of our work. We want to study the process of incorporating a developer from the application engineering team into the domain engineering team. The first question we asked ourselves is whether this problem is relevant at all. If this type of onboarding were to happen once every century, it would probably not be worth looking into. Truth is, that is not the case. In the figure, you can see a typical evolution scenario for a software product line, where at the beginning, application engineering and thus product customization takes most of the effort, while at the end, at the configuration product family stage, domain engineering is all there is, where the products are automatically configured and no application engineering is necessary. So, based on this evolution, it seems clear that the transfer from application engineering team into the domain engineering team is bound to happen during the product line evolution. Having established the relevance of the problem, let's go back to Jane. What challenges does she have to face in her incorporation into the domain engineering team? The first one is her lack of domain knowledge. This is important when the newcomer is incorporated into any development team, but it becomes crucial for product lines. The product family that a product line creates, the variability the product line establishes, is defined over a domain that any developer of the team should know well. And if we focus on variability, a product line can define tens of thousands of features that the domain engineering team manages. Moreover, the variability itself is realized in the core assets with which Jane should familiarize herself. Last, while information overload is an issue in most onboarding processes, its magnitude increases in software product lines as their size is considerably larger. Now, we can define our goal. We want to create tools that ease onboarding from the application engineering team into the domain engineering team and that allow newcomers to learn autonomously. And why do we emphasize the autonomous learning part? Onboarding is not only an issue for newcomers, but also for the senior developers in the domain engineering team, who have to dedicate time to teaching them. Hence, we aim to provide Jane with tools that allow her to learn about the product line autonomously. In order to fulfill this goal, we will follow the sensemaking theory. Sensemaking refers to the process of building understanding by generating representations that explain what is known or understood. We aim to build scaffolds over the existing product line that help in this endeavor. Literature provides guidelines to build sensemaking scaffolds. First, organize the tools and artifacts around the semantics of the discipline. Second, use representations and language that bridge learners' previous knowledge. And third, use representations that learners can inspect in different ways to reveal important properties of the underlying data. As the central point of our sensemaking scaffold, which will guide Jane, we propose concept maps. Concept maps are graphical tools for organizing and representing knowledge. They include concepts, usually supported as nodes, and relationships between concepts, indicated by a connecting lines linking the two nodes. Concept maps present the semantics of the discipline, the main concepts of the domain in a way that is easy to understand for Jane. As a case in point, the figure shows the concept map of WalkLine, a product line that we have developed that creates annotation clients based on the W3C standard. One can easily see that annotations are a central concept in this SPL, or that annotations can have different purposes, such as classifying, commenting, and so on. Following the second guideline, concept maps permit learners to bridge their previous knowledge. Imagine that Jane, as an application engineer, has previously worked on Mark & Go, one of WalkLine's products that intends to ease assignment marking for teachers. She can easily see which concepts she already knows, depicted in orange, and which are new to her, shown in yellow. As an example, she can see that she previously had worked with two annotation purposes, classifying and assessing, but that in the product line there are two more, commenting and reply. Last, the third guide states that different representations should be used. In software product lines, concept maps can be the central hub, the welcome guide that allows Jane to explore the different representations of the product line autonomously. If she clicks on a concept, links to every feature of the product line that are linked to such concept appear. As an example, if she clicks on the first link, the documentation of the commenting feature appears. In the same vein, if she clicks on the code link, she is directed to the feature implementation. You can also take a look and explore the WalkLine concept map following the link on the screen. We tested these ideas in a preliminary evaluation. 5 participants took part in it. They were recent graduates and all had previous experience developing the WalkLine product line. As for the evaluation itself, we first asked them to fulfill a survey about their onboarding process, and then asked them to explore the WalkLine concept map. We ended by asking them to answer the technology acceptance model, a well-known instrument to measure usefulness and ease of use of a new technology. As a quick overview of the evaluation results, on a 1 to 7 scale, participants ranked the usefulness of the software product line concept maps with 5.23 on average, and the ease of use with 5.6 on average. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, comments, or improvement suggestions, please do not hesitate to contact us.
Okay, we're live. Welcome everyone to the Q&A session. The author, Miter, is here with us to answer any questions. So please post them on the chat window. Questions, comments?
Anything.
Anything? Okay, maybe I will start and people may be inspired later. So I like this idea of concept maps. It's something that I use. In your approach, it seems to me like the concept maps is the format, the way you deliver the information. I am wondering whether you also have kind of guidelines about what kind of content should be for product lines for the format to be useful in terms of knowledge regarding to product lines, to the process of creating product lines, to domain knowledge and whatnot. Is there something like a template that can be reusable?
Not yet. That's a great question. Actually, in the current approach, we are relying a lot on the expertise of the domain engineer that creates the map, because we believe he or she is the best person to know what content should be on the map.
Right.
but we are experimenting on trying to see with some companies we are collaborating with, which should be the initial concept, or which, if there are some guidelines or some way to guide how to create the content map.
Yes, exactly. Do you have any samples of actual concept maps created that you can look at? Like, what are the similarities, common elements among all of them and stuff like that?
Uh, at the moment, the only concept map we have is the one from Walkline, which is an academic SPL that we
Okay.
developed in our group. It's available. You have the link on the paper, but we are starting a collaboration with a couple of companies around here, and that's our next step, to see how we would create their concept maps and how we can compare all of them to see if we can distill some guidelines.
That would be really, really useful if you can manage to do that, I think. Okay. Let's look at the chat window. I'm not seeing any questions. Do you have anything to add? Maybe, things that you couldn't say in your short video, but you want to emphasize about your research? You mentioned some next steps in response to my question. Maybe anything else that you're planning to do?
Okay, so what we are trying to do now is, first of all, um, ground the motivation, because this work started from informal talks with companies and at SPLC, the Conference on Software Product Lines, where we were seeing, okay, onboarding is a problem. It's well documented for, let's say, normal systems. What happens in software product lines? And we talked with people from different companies, and they all said, yeah, that's a problem. We have this problem. When people come, we have to teach them. They need quite a bit of time to put them at the speed of senior developers. But we started looking at the literature, and there's nothing about it. So what we are trying to do right now is make an empirical study where we contact companies and say, okay, do you have this problem? Because all we have is anecdotal evidence to tell the truth. And what are the differences on the onboarding on SPLs? What are the particularities, the similarities, or the differences between regular onboarding and SPL onboarding?
All right. Okay, sounds good. We have one question actually from Wouter, and he is asking, in a less formal session, concept maps remind me of the Obsidian tool and the graphs that visualize backlinks. Do you see the tools used as concept maps as a possible impediment?
I've, I've, I'm not familiarized with Obsidian, so I can't really say. Yes, but the answer in general would be yes. The tools we have sampled for concept maps, actually the one there is in the paper is just a proof of concept, are not very usable, or they can be complicated to combine with the tools that SPL engineers already have. So we had a student working on a tool that combines information about the feature models and the artifacts from the SPL and the concept maps on the same tool, so that they can be more easily combined and more easily to traverse for the newcomer.
Okay. Are there any drawbacks in general for using concept maps?
I would say the most easy one to spot would be scalability. And a software product line can be huge, thousands of lines of code, thousands of features. So in theory, concept maps shouldn't be bigger than 20, 25 concepts. How you distill, I don't know, 1,000 features into 2025. So that's a future line of work, seeing, okay, do we have only one concept map, one original concept map from which you can go and explore, other concept maps. How do you modularize concept maps? That's an interesting line of work.
All right, hierarchical concept maps, something
Maybe.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting. But to be useful for onboarding, I mean, the initial artifacts that you share with people must also be concise. If they are complicated and big and hairy, they're not going to be that useful anyway.
Exactly. I mean, you can. I was imagining myself when I started with observable lines, and if they throw at me a feature model with 10,000 features, it's okay. I don't know where to start.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. What do you do with that? Exactly.
Yeah.
What about the idea of we have only 2 minutes left, plus some? What about the idea of so concept map is static? It's a static representation. What about also something dynamic like a roadmap? You know, you start here and then you do this and then you understand this other concept. Some sequencing of what the new person is supposed to do in order to understand the system.
Yeah, there's a whole line in the onboarding. There was actually a couple of talks on onboarding on Microsoft on Tuesday, I think, where they define how do you define the roadmap, the tasks you give to the newcomers so that they are familiarized with the domain, the system, or whatever.
Right.
So we got a lot of interesting ideas because they proposed different strategies. For example, you can give the newcomer easy tasks first and then go and increase complexity. Or you can give them the more relevant tasks, or you can define different ways so that the person can be incorporated um, iteratively. So that's a very interesting line of work.
All right. I should go and check out that talk. It looks like it was by Microsoft.
Yeah, I may have the titles on. It's a case study on onboarding tasks and strategies or something like that.
Okay, I'll find it. Don't worry about it. Thanks for mentioning it. It sounds interesting.
It was.
Okay, so we have less than a minute, I guess. Yeah, now less than a minute before the discussion room is open. So I encourage you, Miter, to stay here until the discussion room is available and join it and see whether there are some colleagues who want to meet you and interact with you in the discussion room.
Okay, will
Okay.
do.
All right. All right. Thank you very much for your video and for answering the questions. Let's give a virtual applause to Miter. And please join the discussion room when it's open if you want to talk to Miter further.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to leave this session and go to the next backstage. Okay. Take care. Nice meeting you.